Buenos días, soy el doctor Oscar Valencia, coordinador de este espacio de educación médica continua. Antes de dar inicio a nuestra sesión, les recordamos mantener en silencio sus micrófonos y también les pedimos que hagan sus preguntas en el chat y los haremos llegar a nuestro ponente al final de la sesión. Les recordamos también nos hagan favor de llenar una encuesta de satisfacción al final. Y esa liga para la encuesta la podrán encontrar en el chat o bien en el código QR. En nombre de la Escuela de Medicina y Ciencias de la Salud del Tecnológico de Monterrey, les doy la más cordial bienvenida. On behalf of School of Medicine and Health Science of Tecnológico de Monterrey, we give you the most warm welcome, Professor Rebecca Simpson. Music is a great tool to help children to develop in different areas. So that's why as a physician, as a primary, as a pediatric expert, we need to promote the music and learning environment. So that's why we invite Professor Rebecca Simpson to talk about us, and her title is Music as a Booster for Children Development. I'm going to give you a small, brief presentation of Dr. Rebecca Simpson. She has a Bachelor in Music from the University of Toronto at Canada. Also, she has a degree as a teacher college in Queen's University. At present, she is a saxophonist and opera singer. She's a middle school and a high school teacher for choir and music at the American School Foundation of Monterrey. She has more than 15 years of experience as a choir and music teacher for kids and adolescents. And she's been responsible for multiple recitals and presentation as a choir director for the American School Foundation of Monterrey. Welcome, Dr. Rebecca Simpson. So let's get started.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. Thank you for being here today. So I will be giving this presentation in English. If at any point you need clarification on anything, please let me know. So today we are going to look at the benefits of music on children and youth. And there are so many benefits for getting kids involved in music making. We're going to look at three main topics today. So we're going to look at music and cognitive development, music and social emotional development, and we're also going to take a look a little bit at music therapy just towards the end. All right, and I'm just going to start by showing a quick video from a TED presentation, a TED Talk. Sorry, give me a moment here. And I do apologize. This video does project what if these things could happen in 2020. Obviously, 2020 has already passed. So here we go. We'll just watch the first 3 minutes.
Music. It's part of all of our lives. How did that make you feel? Maybe take you back to childhood, remind you of a memory you hadn't thought of in a while? Maybe made you want to get up out of your chair and gallop around the stage, right? So have you ever thought to think, why? Why does music do all these things for us? And in particular, what's going on in our brain when we make or listen to music? Well, it turns out a lot is going on in our brains. This picture here is a brain scan of a musician, a pianist, improvising. It's from the work of Charles Limb. And the red and blue show areas of activation and deactivation during this musical performance. What I want you to see is just how much of the brain is touched by music. Because of this, scientists like myself really feel that we can use music as a great tool to help us understand the brain, but also to change it. Many people have wondered, well, does music do good things for the brain? Is it good exercise for the brain, particularly for kids? Well, there's a lot of research, growing research, showing that music can improve math skills, reading, even school attendance, confidence, as was talked about earlier today. But there's still a question. Well, what is music changing in the brain that enables those improvements to happen? Today, I'd like to talk to you about a study, the Symphony study, that's trying to answer that question. But before that, in the 2020 vision of looking ahead to the future, I'd like to sketch out a vision of education informed by brain, what we know about the brain, to help people meet their greatest potential. So consider what that would be like. Imagine Jeannie, a 5-year-old, going to the doctor for her annual checkup. Okay, like all of us, she'll have her height and weight measured. And the doctor will show her and her parents where she falls on growth charts of height and weight. We've all seen these. In fact, the World Health Organization publishes worldwide growth charts that are used as standards to help us plan nutrition, both for individuals and society. But what about kids' minds and brains? Where's the growth chart for that? What if in 2020, the doctor could measure Jeannie's brain? And what if we had growth charts of the brain so that he could plot out the growth of different functions in different areas of her brain? Maybe some things are ahead of the curve, but circuit X or area Y, maybe that's a little bit behind. What would we do with that knowledge? Well, what if we also knew that something like music could actually impact different brain areas because of its all-encompassing nature and might specifically help brain areas develop? Well, we could use that knowledge then to perhaps suggest that Jeannie take up violin in an orchestra or sing in a choir.
All right, so I'm going to stop that there. And the main point that I really wanted to share with that is imagine that we could get to a point where music could be the prescription, the help for kids who are struggling in certain areas. The only thing that they need to do is to be involved in music, join an orchestra, join a choir, join the band, because it affects the brain in so many ways. So we're going to start by looking at music and cognitive development. So the effects of music on the brain, in the brain. When we listen to music, it's processed in many different areas of our brain. Listening to music affects certain areas of our brain, but when we actually play or create music by playing an instrument or singing, the extent of the brain's involvement is huge. And both sides of the brain are involved in music making, which is amazing. So some of the major computational centers of the brain that are affected by music making are the corpus callosum. Please excuse my pronunciation of all these areas. That connect the left and right hemispheres. Because so much is happening on both sides of the brain when music making is happening, that part of the brain actually grows. The motor cortex is affected when music involves movement. There's foot tapping, there's dancing to music, and the actual physical motion of playing an instrument or singing. There's lots of physical motions involved in singing as well. The prefrontal cortex is activated with the creation of expectations through music. The nucleus accumbens is affected with our emotional reactions to music. And we're going to talk a lot about that later because I believe that's very, very important. The amygdala is again affected by our emotional reactions to music. Our sensory cortex is affected. The tactile feedback from playing an instrument and dancing and singing. the auditory cortex, so the first stages of listening and sounds, and the perception of analysis of tones. The hippocampus is affected, memory for music, musical experiences, and context. And that is very, very important. We all have many experiences that we probably relate to music, or we can hear a song quite often from when we are teenagers or young adults, and that song will take us right back to that moment. It has very, very strong ability to invoke memory. The visual cortex is also activated when we read music, when you look at a performer's or one's own movement. When performing in a group, so much of the communication is based on body language, and musicians learn to interpret that so that they can play together. And last but not least, the cerebellum. So movements such as foot tapping, dancing, and playing an instrument. And it's also involved in our emotional reactions to music. So when a child or an adult playing music, all these parts of the brain are firing. And it's really amazing what that does. So some benefits of music education in children. And this is a very well, I would say quite new area of study. The studies really started beginning in the 1990s. So we're only looking at about 30 years of data here. But neuroscientists have demonstrated that learning to play an instrument or sing leads to changes in a child's brain that make it more likely that they will reach their full cognitive and academic potential. And you know, I don't have scientific. I mean, we have the numbers here, but I see it every day in school. I see the kids who are signed up and who have made the commitment to the choir and the band programs. They do better in school in general. A lot of our students who are involved in our music and theater programs as well are members of our National Honor Society, and they're leaders within the school. And they're very good at language and math and the arts. And I do truly believe that music has such a positive impact, and see it here in the brain development. So as I said before, there are stronger connections between the brain regions. There's more gray matter of the brain, improved brain structure and function. There's better memory and attention, and higher IQ. That is a very small study that is being worked on right now. So young children taking music lessons have showed dramatic improvement in their verbal intelligence after only 4 weeks of music training. And we can see that down at the bottom with the chart, with the music group before their musical training and after their musical training, how their raw vocabulary scores increased so much because music activates that part of the brain that is also involved in language, okay? And it has been proven that the quality of a child's music education is linked to their academic achievement. Elementary school students in higher quality music education programs had 20% improvement in standardized tests of English and math. It's also been proven that kids who are involved in their music programs and who are musicians, and I use that term. I truly believe that anybody who is involved in music making is a musician. They have been proven to do better on their SAT scores and their ACT scores. All right, so there really are so many ways that music affects us that have nothing to do with music. So the effects of music on perceptual and language skills. So music has long been argued to provide effective experiences for children to develop listening skills. We have to listen closely when we are playing music, when we are listening to music, and it does help kids develop their listening skills and their critical listening skills. much of the learning in music occurs without our conscious awareness. We just sort of sinks in. So when we listen to music or speech, we process an enormous amount of information very rapidly, and that helps with our brain development. So, more effects of music on perceptual and language skills. So, musical abilities and training can sharpen the brain's early encoding of linguistic sound, leading to superior coding. This means that the earlier a child is involved in music making, the more effect this has. And musical experiences which enhance processing can therefore impact on the perception of language, which in turn impacts reading. Okay, so being involved, there are stories, not stories, there are studies, my apologies, of using music with kids who are dyslexic. And within months of musical training, kids who have had difficulty reading and understanding written language are able to read and decode the written word, because that part of their brain is getting extra stimulation. Okay. There we go. There are also indications from a range of sources that rhythmic training may help children experiencing dyslexia. One way in which music instruction may help reading, in addition to those relating to more general perception, timing, and language skills. And just a big phrase, those with musical training had significantly better verbal learning and retention abilities. When we learn music as well, we're retaining so much information, and we have to learn to memorize music. And so that helps with retention of other information as well. As I said before, the role of music in facilitating language skills contributes to the development of reading skills. Again, this shows us that the earlier kids are involved in music making, the bigger the difference it has on their brain development. Okay, and moderate relationships have also been found between tonal memory and reading age. So tonal memory means a child's ability to retain tone, to retain a melody, a pitch. And we've all heard, I'm sure, kids singing away, and they have a great tonal memory. I believe that it's something that they are born with, and it's something that often goes away if they're not using it. So tonal memory is very, very important. It's important to encourage kids to sing from a young age, because that really helps them. So, and again, the longer the duration of music training, the better the verbal memory. Okay, so again, starting early is very, very important. And overall, the evidence suggests that engagement with music plays a major role in developing perceptual processing systems, which facilitate the encoding and identification of speech sounds and patterns. Okay, so music really, and this is how I think of it as well. Music is communication, and it is another language. And so kids who are involved in music making, it's like they're learning another language, and they're gaining all sorts of perceptions, and ways to also relate and understand other people and other situations. And this affects them in all areas of their lives. So, music is also, the structure of music is based on math. And so kids who are able to read music, and I will go into that later as well. I believe that a strong music program, in order to get the full benefit of a music program, music literacy is very, very important. But music is all based on math. Rhythms are all about patterns and fractions. And so kids who who are involved in music also tend to have higher math skills. And, we can see here, Einstein was trained in piano and violin. He was a musician. Jeff Buckland from Coldplay, okay, very famous pop rock musician. He graduated as a mathematician from Cambridge. There are many, many musicians out there, both classical, jazz, pop, rock, who are actually incredibly, incredibly intelligent in math and sciences. Okay. Music also affects creativity. So, music in this study of 173 high school music and 45 non-music students found that the music students scored higher on several elements of Guilford tests of creativity. Okay, music helps us gain higher levels of abstraction and greater creativity in improvised puppet play, in improvisation as well. Improvisation is a huge part of music making. And it helps us in other parts of our lives as well. We're able to think quicker. We're able to perceive what others are thinking and what their needs are. Okay, so, and also, of course, the greater the number of units of music classes, the greater the creativity. So again, consistency. This isn't a one-time thing. This isn't, okay, my kid's going to go into piano lessons for 2 years and they'll have all of these benefits. No, this is something that is continuous year after year. It is a commitment. So, next part. The next part that I would like to talk about is the social emotional aspect of music making. And this is a part that I, as a teacher, I see as the most important, because I see kids. One of the great things about my job is that I start with students in 6th grade. So they're about 11, 12 years old. And if they decide to continue with music, I get to see them all the way through until graduation. And so until they're 18 or 19. And I have seen the beauty of the power of music in these kids who come in and they're shy and they're unsure of themselves. And maybe they don't have a lot of friends and they're petrified getting up and presenting in front of the class. And being a part of a music program or a theater program has made them confident, has made them, has helped them make friends, has helped them understand others and socialize. And it's made such a huge difference in their lives. And I really, really, truly believe that if a student is struggling in a social, emotional way, or if a child, is struggling with socialization or struggling emotionally, a music program will make a huge difference in their lives. And again, because as a teacher, I have seen this over and over again. Okay, so music provides entertainment and distraction from problems and serves to release tension and boredom. One of the things here, music listening provides entertainment and distraction, and it also gives kids something to relate to. Quite often, especially with teenagers, young teens, older teens, they feel misunderstood and they relate to the music that they listen to. And so they feel like there's someone else out there who understands them. And music also helps to relieve tension and boredom. And this music making as well, of course, helps to relieve these. Kids who are involved in music programs are much less likely to get into trouble of any type, because they are involved in something that has meaning, and bigger meaning, and they have strong friendships and ties that are developed through this ensemble. Okay. Adolescents also use music in their process of identity formation. We have a huge identification with the music that we listen to. And their music preference provides them with a means to achieve group identity and integration into the youth culture. This is really, really important, especially in middle school. Kids really, they have, you know, theme songs with their groups of friends. They tie them together. They help them stay bonded and strong, and they help them create memories as well. So, American adolescents aged 14 through 16 years old revealed that they listen to music on average for 40 hours per week. That's a lot. That's a lot of time spent listening to music. Um, and several studies have demonstrated that there is a relationship between music and emotions, regardless of age. And I'm sure that every single person in here can say that that is true, that they have been emotionally affected by a song, by a piece of music, and it can take them to a place of joy, a place of sadness. It can help relieve anger. Okay, so it's very, very important in social emotional well-being. Um, and it has been reported that children 8 to 10 years of age listen to music an average of 1 hour per day. It's much less. And I believe that is because children 8 to 10 years of age just don't have that same need quite yet. All right. So, adolescents' choice of music and their reactions to and interpretations of their music vary with age, culture, and ethnicity. Um, and I find this very interesting. Male adolescents are more likely to use music as a stimulant or as a booster to their energy level, or to create a more positive image of themselves. Whereas female adolescents are more likely than male adolescents to use music to reflect on their own emotional state when they're feeling lonely or feeling down. And again, this is something that I see with my students all the time. When I give them a chance to talk about their music, quite often the boys are listening to music that pumps them up and gives them energy and makes them feel strong. And girls tend to seek music that makes them feel understood. And so that's just very interesting. An overview of the benefits of music in children. So when children make music, they feel recognized. There's a regulation of safety, trust, and belonging. Being a part of an ensemble, so any sort of musical, a band, an orchestra, a choir, it gives a sense of safety and belonging. And you have to trust the people that you are making music with. Or else the music making doesn't really happen. And so through music making, you gain this ability to trust others. It's amazing. And there's also the motor skills involved. Playing an instrument or singing uses motor skills, fine motor skills, gross motor skills, depending on the instrument. And so it helps us gain control over our bodies. It helps us regulate our emotions, and it helps us feel positive emotions. Music making is really a beautiful experience in the fact that you feel good when you're making music. You feel good when you're singing. You feel good when you're playing your guitar. Okay. Just because music making is wonderful. And you see yourself at your best, and you feel alive. Anyone who has had the opportunity to make music, especially making music in front of an audience, it really we bring our best selves to make music and connect with our audience, and it gives us a feeling of being alive. And it's really amazing. So, social and personal development. This informal studies, it's received less attention than the impact on intellectual development and attainment, even though the effects on achievement may in part be mediated by an increase in social and cultural capital. Kids who are involved in music develop higher self-esteem. If you have higher self-esteem, you feel better, you're not as scared to make mistakes and do hard things. And so that's part of the other aspect of why kids tend to do better in school when they're involved in music. Bro from a 2002 study showed that students who participated in musical activities talked more with their parents and their teachers, and that their parents were more likely to talk with their friends, because when you're involved in music making, you have that built-in community. You have something that you share. And so it allows communication to flow much more fluidly. And so she concluded social benefits were likely to lead to higher self-esteem in the children, which in turn led to an increased motivation and self-efficacy. Okay. And Harland and Al from 2000 showed that the most frequent overall influences on students, on pupils, derived from engagement with the arts in school. And they were related to personal and social development. Okay, so an arts education is so important. Those who played instruments mentioned an increase in self-esteem and sense of identity, emotional sensitivity. Quite often, and I see this over and over again with my students, is once they get to high school levels, they feel like they need to leave music, the arts, because they need to take classes that will help them with their future. And there's kids and parents and adults need to be educated on the fact that music affects us in so many ways that have nothing to do with music. And so many successful people in our world have been musicians. And they still continue to make music because they have developed the self-confidence. They have developed a growth mindset, which is huge. They're not afraid to make mistakes, and they understand that they can get better through practice. It's not something that I'm bad at this, I'm going to give up. I'm bad at this, I'm not talented, I'm going to stop. Okay, they start to learn that I can get better over time. And that is so, so important for a learner. So non-musical skills that are gained from music making. Kids develop perseverance. They develop resilience. They develop cooperation skills. If you're in an ensemble of anywhere from, it can be anywhere from 5 to 50 people, you have to learn how to cooperate to make music together. They learn discipline. You have to be disciplined to learn to make music because you have to practice. They learn self-confidence, a growth mindset, presentation skills. Kids who learn how to perform also learn how to present. Their oral presentations get better. Their empathy, their ability to empathize with others grow because music makes them more in tune to their emotions and others' emotions, which helps with the perception of self and the perception of others. So, music intervention in children. Music therapy is also a growing field. And I believe that it is very, very important. Music-based interventions in healthcare. There's music medicine, so listening to pre-recorded music for health-promoting goals, and it can be provided by healthcare professionals. Music therapy is the systematic use of various methods of tailored music experiences within a therapeutic relationship to promote health. And this is provided by certified music therapists. This is not something that is provided by music teachers. It's not something that is provided by psychologists. It's something that kind of marries the two, psychologists and musicians. And there are other music-based interventions, other uses of music activities for health promoting or recreational goals. Okay, and that can be something as simple as, having musicians come in and play in the hospitals to distract patients from what might be going on in their lives, etc. So, the effects of music therapy in children. Music therapy is often used with autism spectrum disorders. It is a way of communication with kids who are not able to communicate verbally. It is used with kids with disabilities, all sorts of learning disability. We've looked already at how music can positively influence reading and literacy skills. Epilepsy. There is evidence for the efficacy of music medicine interventions using the Mozart effect on seizure activity. That's a whole other area, the Mozart effect. Mental health, and again, this is for everybody. It can have an antidepressive effect in adolescents. In neonatal care, music therapy has been shown to decrease heart and respiratory rate. It can improve infant sleep and food intake. It can reduce the anxiety of new mothers. And it has been shown that music therapy can, in fact, reduce the length of a stay in hospital and reduce pain during blood drawing procedures. Because listening to music can take us to another place. It helps us forget what's happening in the moment. It is also used, music therapy can be used in neurorehabilitation, but the effects are still unclear. Music therapy is also effective in pain, anxiety, and stress in medical procedures. And it is also used in pediatric oncology and palliative care. It can improve pain management. It can improve children's coping behavior. And it has also been shown to improve immunological status. And it is used very, very often with kids who are with terminal illnesses as a way of communication. It helps them understand. It helps them release anger that they might be feeling. So that is happening. So the elements of music therapy, we have listening, singing, music making, and a lot of rhythmic movements. They all go together. They help us with communication, social, emotional well-being. They help with motor and sensory perceptual skills, and they also help with behavioral issues. Kids who are behavioral are tagged as behavioral. Music helps them find their positive emotions, and it helps them reduce negative behavior. Okay. So a summary of recommendations by the American Academy of Pediatrics. So it's important that parents become familiar with the role of music in the lives of children and adolescents and identify music preferences of their, they should say children, and with doctors, with their patients, as clues to emotional conflict or problems. Kids who tend to listen to music that is very, very sad or depressing tend to have something going on in their lives that they need to communicate. Become familiar with the literature available on the effects of music and music videos on children and adolescents. So both positively and negatively, right? The images that kids see in music videos can be quite strong. And the text, the lyrics as well. It's very important to become familiar with these and understand the message that is being sent to kids. And quite often, especially younger kids and young adolescents, middle school students, they don't realize what they're listening to, but these messages are still sinking into their brains, and it can have a negative effect on them. Explore with patients and parents what types of music they listen to and music videos they watch, and under which circumstances they consume this media. And encourage parents to take an active role in monitoring the type of music to which their children and adolescents are exposed to. and just be aware of the music that they purchase. And just, it's really important to have conversations with your kids about, why do you like this music? How does it speak to you? What's the message that it's telling you? How do you relate to it? And it's a great way to open up communication with kids as well, because they may not tell you face to face, I had a really bad day. Something's happening at school. Someone's bullying me. I'm not being treated properly. But through the music that they're listening to, you get these clues, and they may open up more sharing through the music that they're relating to. Encourage parents and caregivers to become media literate, be aware of all the different ways we can consume music, and participate in coalitions to discuss the effects of music on children and adolescents, and to make the public and parents aware of sexually explicit, drug-oriented, or violent lyrics. And that's a lot of the music right now has all three of those, unfortunately. A lot of the music, a lot of the rap, a lot of the hip hop, a lot of the rock uses these. And so it's also an important vehicle to open up conversations about these topics with adolescents. Do you understand what the artist is saying in this song? Do you think that's right? It's very important. So, going back now, okay, I've heard all of this information. I want my kid to be involved in music. They need to be involved in a quality music program. There's so much out there that is not quality. We see so many music teachers, especially private music teachers, who, they're musicians, and they're like, okay, I'm going to open a studio, I'm going to start teaching, but they don't understand the pedagogy behind teaching music. And so it's very important that you find a quality music program. So first of all, take advantage of your child's school music program. All schools, all good schools should have a music program. It should be an integral part of the curriculum, all through preschool, elementary, middle school. It should be there. High school as well. But for the brain development, it's very important, especially in the younger years. Okay? Ask your kids and ask at your school when we get back to school, what extracurricular opportunities are available to students, and encourage your child to participate. Okay, they will make friends. I guarantee that if a child is involved in extracurricular music, they will make friends that quite often become lifelong friends, because they share a bond and a commonality, and they learn to emote through music, and that gives them bond. Make sure to find music teachers in school, out of school, in private studios, who are properly certified. I believe that this is especially true for early childhood music classes. Look for programs where the pedagogy is based in Orff, Kodai, Dalcroze, and or Suzuki methods. These are proven methods for teaching music in early childhood. It has been proven that these pedagogical methods do provide all of the benefits that we were talking about earlier. And what's great about these methods is that they involve the whole body and the whole child in music making. They sing, they dance, they play instruments. Eventually, they learn music notation. It is not that important when they are little. There are music programs where they start trying to sit kids down and teach them music notation when they're 3-4 years old. It's not necessary. Kids need their whole bodies to be involved in the music making process. Now, for older children, music literacy is very, very important, because that's where the language processing part of the brain is affected, because they're learning and reading. They're learning how to read music is learning how to read a whole other language. All the fireworks that go off in the brain through music literacy are very, very important. Okay? And it's important for both singers and kids learning how to play instruments. Um, and look for programs that offer the opportunity or requirement for kids to be a part of an ensemble. Music making on your own, great. Taking private lessons, great. But music making in a group takes it to the next level, especially, again, with the social emotional effects. We gain so much more by making music in a group than we do as an individual. Okay, so important information to consider when signing a child up for music class. Make sure that children who are learning have time to practice. It's not just 30 minutes a week. Okay, I'm going to go to my violin lesson, I'll play, and then I'll go again next week. No. When you're committing to music lessons, you're not just committing to that 30 minutes a week. There needs to be time set aside every day or every other day for practice. It doesn't need to be hours of practice. It could just be 10 minutes. But the child will not develop the music skills, the cognitive skills, the social, emotional, everything that we talk about the benefits of a music education. It's not going to happen with just the 30-minute lesson a week. This is also very important. When a child is learning how to play or sing, don't make any negative or joking comments. And it happens so often, especially when kids are just beginning. The screechy violin sound, the out of tune singing, the recorder, the flauta that the kids start learning. It's loud, it's high pitched. But encourage them to play, encourage them to sing. No one sounds good when they first start, and kids need to feel comfortable making mistakes. That's how they learn. And so many kids at a very young age, very young, it's shut down and they think that they're not talented because once upon a time when they were 6 years old, they were singing the theme song to Paw Patrol and someone told them to be quiet. And that affects them in a lot of ways. But that being said, if a child is truly not interested, don't force them. Forced music lessons are not a good idea. If a kid is miserable, and this goes for anything, of course, they're not going to learn. And the benefits of a solid music education are going to be lost. Okay? The best way to get a child interested is to start from an age and make music a part of the household, make music part of the family. It doesn't mean that parents need to be musicians. Just listening to music, singing along in the car, getting every family member, okay, you get to pick the next song, you get to pick the next song, let's sing together. Okay, that gets them interested in music, and maybe they want to take it a step further. And my final thoughts for today, music making is a learned skill, not a talent that we are either born with or not born with. So often I see kids, especially in grade 6, when they come in, music is required in 6th grade. They say to me, Miss, I'm miserable being in choir. I don't sing. I'm not talented. Everyone can sing. Every single human being on this planet can sing or play an instrument. They just need to take the time to learn. And when they do that, they're going to reap the benefits of making music, of a music education. Okay? And never, ever tell a child or anyone or an adult that they don't have the talent or don't have the natural ability. Fostering a love for music and a joy in music making is more than enough to reap the benefits of good music education. You don't have to, after 15 years, if the child still is not an amazing violinist, it doesn't matter because there are so many other benefits. The goal of a music education is not for kids to become professional musicians. It is everything else. It is brain development, social emotional development, therapy, making friends. That's what's the most important part there. So thank you very much. And those, I am done. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to go ahead and type them in the chat.
Thank you.
And
Thank you
yes,
very much, Rebecca.
thank you.
Thank you for your excellent presentation. Thank you for remind us that as a physician, we're responsible for the development of the children. And part of that development is to encourage the learning of music, to be exposed to music. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have several questions. Let me read some of them. As a physician, we know the great benefits of hearing music, even in mother's uterus. And now you show us that learning to play an instrument gives us enormous benefit in children development. What age is recommended for children to start playing an instrument, and which one would be the best?
So I strongly recommend that all young children be involved in singing, but not, hang on, let me rephrase. Sorry. So starting to play an instrument, I believe that about age 5 is a good age to start. Before that, and by instrument there, I'm talking about a violin, piano, guitar. Wind instruments are later on in life when the kids are bigger, because physically they just can't handle a wind instrument. A great age to start that is around grade 4, so age 9, 10, I believe. And singing is also very, very important. And singing, not necessarily private music lessons, but singing in a choir teaches very healthy ways for kids to sing. And that can be started again at starting 4, 5 years old.
Thank you. We have another question. Do children that are uninterested in music have the same benefits of those who enjoy learning and playing?
That is a very good question. If a child is really uninterested, and this is my personal opinion, they're not going to see those benefits because they're going to be fighting the music learning process. And again, the best way to get kids interested is making sure music is a part of the home young age. It's just something that we have in our house.
Or probably not to encourage to play an instrument, but just to be exposed to music.
Yes, and lots of different kinds of music as well, especially when they're young. Exposing kids to classical music, jazz, Broadway, pop, rock, everything is so important.
This is another question. Is it feasible to have music rooms at hospitals and for children?
It is. There are hospitals around the world who do have music rooms in pediatric wards because it has been, the benefits have been shown to be very, very strong.
Okay, let me see if we have another question here. So what type of music should we promote? Any type of music?
Any type, I would say any and all types, because I think we can gain so much from different types of music. And different genres of music can make us feel different things, and help us concentrate better, for example. And so all music is very important.
That the same recommendation, all type of music for mothers that are expecting the baby, because they believe that they have to listen to classical music.
I believe that all types of music are wonderful, but I do know there have been lots of studies done on the calming effect of classical music that is at a certain tempo. There's something about the tempo of the music that helps calm the baby, that helps with the brain development in utero.
Um, do you have a final message for our audience?
Um, I I think just again making sure that you encourage, that we all encourage, that music making is for everybody. This is not something, and it is something that, especially with like reality shows right now, right, that we've started to see, you're talented, you're not, you're talented, you're not. Every single human being, it is part of who we are. We are musical beings. And so we need to encourage that in children, because it will give them great, not only reap all the benefits of the cognitive development, social, emotional, but music making is just fun. It's a wonderful, wonderful activity. And so music for music's sake is also very, very important, and all kids will reap the benefits.
Thank you very much, Professor Rebecca Simpson, for your extraordinary presentation.
Thank you.
And I'm sure that's going to be very useful for our audience and for our patients as well. So thank you very much, and thank you for being with us.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for the invitation. Have a great day.
You too. Have a
Thank
great
you.
day.
Bye.
Muchas gracias a toda nuestra audiencia. Recuerden llenar la encuesta de satisfacción, ya sea la liga que se acaba de poner en el chat o bien a través del código QR. Muchas gracias y que tengan un excelente día.